Okay, welcome back to the latest in our series of mind-setting videos with Steve Ackley and Roger Black. So the tip that we're going to be talking about this week is the importance of being resilient. And one thing that I've sort of seen out of the pandemic with our client base is that everybody has had to cope with something different. And I know that two of our clients have just felt just literally dealing with wave after wave of problems. So I'll throw this one at Steve, really. What would you recommend to people that are dealing with those sort of challenges?
Well, first of all, Malcolm, I think, it's true to say that everyone can relate to what you just said. I think one thing that the pandemic has thrown us at all of us is the need to find a way of being resilient. And that means something maybe slightly different to different people. And I suppose the purpose of our insights through our program is reflections on sport and what it can teach us. And from a sporting perspective, resilience is about change. Really, is about being adaptable, agile, nimble, and I presume they are all words that very much apply back to the workplace. When it comes to being resilient, it isn't about being, we've always done it this way, we're going to really push and make sure that it's like, well, no, hang on a second. It's, what's going to work based on the current circumstances and actually lifting our heads up literally and saying, well, what actually is going on? What am I missing? What are the blind spots as things have changed? And then adapting to them. So resilience, I think there's sometimes a misconception about digging your heels in, and in many ways it's quite the opposite. That said, rolling your sleeves up and you can't beat hard yards, and I think a lot of people, have certainly dug deep, that part of resilience and being, really looking inside themselves to find a new level of performance. Because we've had to, right? That's the nature of what we've all gone through. But it's a big part of being a sportsman, right? Is that right, Roger?
Yeah, and I also think a big part of resilience, fortitude, or whatever, is it's a lot easier to be resilient if you've still got a very clear eye on what your goal is. It's very hard to be resilient when you don't really know what you're aiming for. I think we all have a nice plan. And then something gets in the way, obviously pandemic for everybody now, but certainly for us in our business, no doubt about that. And family lives. I've got 2 kids now, 15-year-olds doing homeschooling and hating it. So, you want them to be resilient, but it's hard for them because they're not really necessarily got their eye on the big picture prize, because why would they? They're so young. But for us, I think in business, certainly as in sport, in our case, if the prize was standing on the Olympic rostrum, you find a way to be resilient. You find a way to adapt. You find a way to be agile. And if you think of the athletes who were preparing for the Olympics in Tokyo last year, they've had to deal with it, face the reality and be resilient. But they've done that because, of course, the prize of standing on the Olympic rostrum is just been moved on a year, hopefully. Never know. But I think that's what we're calling resilience. So I think it's a lot easier to be resilient if you still have clarity of what you're trying to achieve. I think it's very hard to be resilient if that goal has been taken away, because then you have to start all over again and reset a bigger, big long-term goals. As Steve said, what you can do is we can be resilient in the moment by bringing goals closer to us. But ultimately, if you haven't got that long goal, it's much harder to be resilient, I think.
That's great, guys, and that's nicely teed up next week's video as well about developing a clear vision. So I'll see you next week.